Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Davis, your host. Now, I have something special here today. It's the diamond in the rough of the industry right now. A lot of guys are asking me all the time, Justin, what's the best beginner drone for me? I just want to do a little bit of FPV, but I don't want to get too serious. I don't want to build things. And I think some people are looking for stuff that's not overpowered, that has too much power, that's going to put you through the ceiling when you fly it. So, I've been in this industry for a long time. I am an industry original. I have taught millions of people around the world to fly, and I've flown hundreds of different types of drones, all the way from the toy drones classification all the way up to the S1000 and the more expensive Hollywood style drones, and tons of racer drones. So this one came to me last week. I got to spend a week with this one, and at first glance I thought, you know what, this looks a little bit ridiculous to me. Honestly, I thought it looked pretty ridiculous. But after I spent a week with it, I started to realize what this copter is and who it's for. This copter is for the absolute beginner. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a beginner FPV racer quad. It can also double as just a fun flyer, something you can take out to the field. If you're not too serious about racing, you just want to enjoy FPV, you don't want to have to sit down and solder up a bunch of stuff or do a build or flash ESCs. This copter is really awesome. It has a lot of really cool features in it. I got to know those features over that week period of flying this one. So Rclogger did a great job at developing this for the absolute beginner. There is a lot of characteristics about this which I'm going to go into detail later and explain to you after we do our flight test. But first, before we do that, I have a run cam 2 on here, so I just have it kind of zip tied over the top. Let's go out and take some footage and fly this, and I'll show you some of the flight characteristics of it. It really does move out pretty fast, or you can fly it super slow and let GPS handle it, because it does have GPS hold on it. If you let go of the stick, it has altitude hold and return to home and altitude GPS lock on here as well. So a lot of really cool features packed into a small bundle from Rclogger. This is the RC Eye Navigator 250, by the way, if you're looking for this name on the internet. You're watching this video, you're going to learn a lot today about this one. So let's go outside real quick, let's fly this one, and then we'll come back in the studio and we'll talk about some details about the RC Eye Navigator 250. Hey guys, welcome back into the studio. Here we are with the RC Eye Navigator 250. Like I said, when I first got this, it looked a little bit ridiculous to me, just because we've seen a lot of quads out there that are super sleek and everything is getting really low profile right now. Everything is getting kind of flattened out, and this one really looked kind of wide to me from the side. It looked like a tank. and I was kind of worried about the durability factor of this. Because of that, you have these swing out arms for landing gear if you want it, if you're taking off in a little taller grass. But right away I was concerned about durability. That concern went away after I crashed it a few times and it rolled and tumbled. It has a nice block up here in the front protecting this camera gimbal up front. One of the coolest features about this whole copter is the fact that it has this one axis gimbal in the front. It has a really nice strong housing on the front of it to protect it, and mine still works after all my crashes. So I'm pretty hard on stuff. If you see me fly stuff before, I usually put stuff in pretty hard and crash a lot, mainly because I'm trying to push the limits of what these things can do. You've got the GPS on top here. You're going to have to go through some calibration features in the copter. You're going to have to really read the manual, but you know what? It came with one of the nicest manuals that I think I've ever seen with a drone yet. It's very, very easy to understand. The calibration process is a 3-step process that you're going to have to go through. And here's that process in the manual. You can see everything in here is really detailed. You have arrows indicating which way to rotate the copter. It looks a little bit complicated at first glance, but everything is really well documented in here, so you shouldn't have any problem. It has rear-facing LEDs to let you know which calibration modes that you're in. There's one calibration mode for calibrating the channel called channel learning. The next one is compass calibration, and then there's gyro calibration. Don't let that scare you. It's not as complicated as it seems. And that, you're only going to have to do that one time. You can recalibrate the compass when you go to a new field location. And once you go through this calibration process once or twice, you're going to be able to do it pretty easily. So let me go ahead and turn on the copter real quick. You just do that by pushing the battery forward. Actually, I'm going to unplug that, plug it back in, because you want to turn on the transmitter on this one first, because this one is GPS quad. So transmitter first, copter next. And you see that camera tilt up and come back to level. So this is a one-axis gimbal. Like I said, the coolest feature of this quad. So as you're flying, more tilt. When you're in forward flight, you get more tilt. And the camera's going to compensate for that. So it's going to look level wherever you are. Racer quad guys will make this camera tilt anywhere from 25 degrees on up to like 65 degrees tilt, depending on their style of racing or freestyle. But for this copter, you can have an auto tilt system, which is really, really cool. And it's fairly durable. I haven't had any problems with it over a week of my bashing this copter around. And I had a little extra space on here to put my run cam. I just put a little piece of foam there, propped it up, put a little VHB underneath and here to hold the zip tie. Went around the bottom. It should go over top of the battery, kind of have it pushed through there. I'm going to take this battery off for now. And I can show you this battery. This is a 3S 2400, so you're going to get around 10 minutes flight time out of this. And I thought this was kind of a beastie battery for this copter, but then again, everything on this copter is a little bit larger. But as a beginner, most of those guys want a little longer flight time. They're used to the Phantom style series copters. They get 20 minutes flight time. This is pushing the boundaries of flight time for a racer quad. There's not a lot of racer quads out there, guys, that get that 10-minute flight time. So this is kind of nice for the new guys. Now, I looked at these props and right away I noticed that they had metal caps on top of them and 2 bolts securing them in, so it is more of a proprietary style prop. Definitely order yourself an extra set of props with yours when you get it. In my several crashes that I had with this, I didn't even bend one of these props, so I don't know if this arm system is preventing them from breaking, but what happens when you crash is you tighten down these arms. You can tighten them down with a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver up on top here, and what happens is when you hit the ground, this is going to bend back, and it's going to save your arm and your motor and likely your prop. So it's a very very, very good design for new guys and for me. And the rear arms also bend as well. The nice thing about this is that you can fold this whole thing down for travel. So if you wanted to throw this in a bag, in your duffel bag, to carry on the airport, if you're going on a trip somewhere, with the props on it or without the props, you can fold everything back and it gets a lot more compact. So maybe you're going on a hike or on vacation, you've got all your kids' stuff in the car, you don't have much room for anything fun of yours, but you do have a pretty compact foldable quad here. So it does get pretty small. And I'm not 100% sure what this video transmitter is up inside here. I think it's a 25 milliwatt. It could be 200. The range on it didn't seem to be super far, but I am trying some different type of antennas. It came with this one. I took it off and I'm just trying a series of different antennas. I have all kinds of them laying around, so I want to see what the maximum distance is I can get with this. No problem flying around in the park though. I was able to use my Fatshark Dominator HDs. There's a version 2, and so they are compatible with Fatshark, which is really, really nice. If you guys are looking to get your first set of goggles, Fatsharks are really, really nice. Now the rear facing LEDs also do have buttons on each side down at the very bottom. I'll try to show you that there. And so what that does is that puts you in the different calibration modes. You'll press it once and 2 times to get into calibration process, and then you can start your different versions of calibration, and that will show you that by the lights on the rear. So you'll have blue, you'll also have red, you'll have magenta and green on there for different calibrations. You'll see that in your manual. Now I'll talk about the motors for a second. These look to be like 1306s or so on here. I would say they are a little small for this frame. I thought it probably needed bigger motors, but when I flew it, I realized something, that it does keep it a little lower to the ground. If you are a new guy, a lot of new guys tend to hit the sticks a little too hard and they will fly up 150 feet, you know, within a couple seconds. So the good thing about having a smaller motor on this frame is if you're a new pilot, you're not 100% familiar with the throttle stick. So you can really punch this throttle stick and it will move really gradually. I saw some Rclogger videos. They had some where they were flying in a warehouse. So as a new guy, most of those guys could never fly in a warehouse on their first week. They would fly up and hit the ceiling or hit a wall super fast. The nice thing about this is that it does really, really fly low level flying really, really well, and it doesn't have a lot of authority with the throttle. So you're not going to punch out and fly into a treetop or fly into a ceiling in a parking garage too easily with this one. So it's a very smooth flying and stable and predictable copter. So that's a nice thing about having these motors that are kind of mid-size motors on here. They're not too big. Now one other nice thing about this is that you do have these kind of sort of proprietary props on here. If you're a new guy, the nice thing about this is that you don't have to worry about the jungle of different props out there, trying to figure out which size fits your copter, ordering the wrong props over some of the websites. You're not going to have to do that. You'll know exactly what props you need to order for this one, and you don't have to worry about it. The Navigator also has its own app. Rclogger made the Eye Control app. It works on Android or iOS, so you can open that up, and once you pair it up with your Bluetooth setting on your phone, you scan the network on here, and now it should be linked. So it's initializing. Now I can change the settings on the flight controller, on the gimbal, on the GPS settings, our low altitude control, and that's just pretty cool. So I'll go into the settings first. Shows you the app version. It'll take you to the Rclogger website if you want to get more information there. you change your language settings from English to Deutsch. You can also go into the configuration menu at the bottom. You can change your return to home settings, which heading you want, if you want it facing away from you or you want it to keep its current heading. If you want it to face towards you coming home, so I have mine facing away, so I like it to come back with the rear facing. Once I like that setting, also in the meters, I have it set to 14 at this point, but I can go way up if I want to, all the way up to 60 to, I believe, 100 meters, so very, very high if we want to. I'll keep this one around, we'll set this one to 15 meters. That should be well above the trees. And now it's saved to the copter. That's pretty cool. It also has a really nice setting for geofencing. Geofencing is when a copter stays inside a virtual boundary. So you can set the distance of height that you'll allow it to go. I have it set to 40. And the distance, how far away it can go horizontally. So 40 and 90, I have mine set to. That's a pretty long distance, so I'm going to go ahead and upload that to the copter, and it's saved really quickly. Now you can also reboot the system in here if you're having some issues, or you can go all the way back to the original factory settings by hitting the factory reset button there. Now I'll go back out of the settings and I'll show you some of the low altitude control as well. Now, low altitude control, what that is when it comes in for a landing, if you want this to have stabilization when it's coming into land, the copter will land a little smoother, and you can change how high that factor starts to happen on the flight controller. So I have it set to 5 meters. I can go all the way up to 40 meters if I want to. So that's a little bit high to me, so I'm going to put it back to, let's say we'll leave it at 6, and it automatically uploads. I can go back out of that low altitude control. I'll go out to camera. Let's check out camera stabilization real quick. Now what this does is this lets you turn on and off the gimbal. This is a nice feature. Right now it's on, so I have stabilization with my camera. It's going to stay horizontal no matter where the pitch is of the copter. If I turn that off, now it acts more like a traditional racing quad. I have a fixed position on the camera. So the other cool thing about this is there's a knob over here on the right hand side. This changes the camera angle, so I can have straight forward, and I can choose wherever I want it to be locked into. So if I want to take that one axis gimbal feature off there and fly it fixed, I can do that. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to leave it on stabilization, so that's kind of fun for me. It's not on any other quad that I own. So very nice app and very easy to understand. Not a lot of depth in this one, but it does let you control very basic features and your return to home settings as well. So that's actually very, very nice. Now I'm going to talk about the switches on the transmitter. I labeled mine because there's no way I was going to remember all this stuff on here. The way to power it up is you're going to go down and to the left with your throttle stick, and that will immediately arm it. Let this copter sit for around 30 seconds to a minute and a half to load up the GPS and record your home point. Very important that you let it sit for a while. The blue lights in the back of the copter will stop flashing and go solid when you get a solid connection. So we're going to start out with the first switch on the top. This is the SWB switch. It has GPS all the way up, basic flight mode in the next, and expert that kind of takes off the GPS and lets it kind of skate on ice and fly more like a traditional racer. GPS flying to me always feels like it's kind of being held back as I'm flying, so sometimes I will just go out of that mode. Your basic mode is more like ADI mode. It kind of takes off that really aggressive GPS hold, which is nice, so you can go a little faster. GPS is going to fly more stable and more predictable. So if you're a new guy, keep it in GPS for the first 2 or 3 days before you start experimenting with too many of these modes on here. Now the next switch over is the camera angle. This is going to let you control the camera angle like I showed you before. The third switch over here, this is bank switch. So what this does is this lets you change the angle of how far the copter will tilt forward as you're flying it. This will also change the speed that you fly it. So the more tilt, more speed. It's starting off in the safe bank mode. If you're in safe bank and GPS, that's the best beginner mode to start out in. If you want a little more tilt and still stay in GPS, you can do that as well. Go into Sport Bank, which is the next one down, and all the way down is Race Bank. So you're gonna get tons of tilt with Race Bank. Now, if you want it to fly super duper fast, go into Basic in Race Bank or Sport Mode. It's gonna fly completely different than GPS. Now you're not having that GPS holding you back and trying to stop the copter and level it out. And the GPS will actually do GPS hold, by the way. It'll keep the copter in one spot. Even if the wind's blowing, it'll kind of bite into it and try to hold its position. Now, if you go all the way down to expert mode, be ready for that one, because that one can flip you into the ground and crash you super quick. Especially if you're in Sport Bank or Race mode, Race Bank there. You're gonna have maximum tilt in Race Bank. It's gonna let you do flips. I would not do a flip with this copter close to the ground. I mean, even like 50 feet off the ground, I probably wouldn't try it or attempt it because you might just roll right into the ground. The roll angles, the rates on the roll is pretty big, so you have to be really high up in the air to start doing rolls or flips with this copter. Not really recommended because of your motors are not super powerful. If you do flips, be well up in the air with that. Now the next switch over is going to be your RTH switch, which is return to home. So all the way down, that's going to be return to home, and you can flip out of it at any time. So if you're way out there, you get confused, flip that switch and you'll start the return to home process. Now you have to also be in GPS mode for that to happen. So RTH only works while you're in GPS mode. You can be in the different bank angles, but you have to be in GPS. So that's about it for the transmitter. It is a very decent transmitter. Takes 4 AA batteries, and it did come with these batteries, so that's really nice. I didn't have to put any of my own in there. I would suggest rechargeables for that. Okay guys, now it's time for our final opinion and assessment of the RCEYE Eye Navigator 250. You know what? It's a pretty cool beginner quad. If you're brand new getting into this, if you're an airplane guy or you're a single rotor heli guy and you're looking to get into FPV, this is definitely the diamond in the rough. There's a ton of beginner quads, so-called beginner quads out there in the industry and on the internet. I mean, it is a giant soup bowl of quads out there. If you try to look for a beginner quad, the internet is just littered with beginner quads. This one, however, this one is really a strong competitor in the beginner market. If they advertise this in any of the airplane magazines, I'm sure these guys love that copter. If you're just getting into it, you don't want to build something. You want something that flies stable. And if stuff really hits the fan and you want to hit return to home on there, you have that option on the receiver. You can always switch back in GPS and auto level out of expert mode. If you're practicing expert, you have that kind of bailout switch. So that's really nice for beginners. It also has a self-centering stick, a lot like the Phantom style copters, where it's going to hold altitude and GPS lock. So a lot of room to grow on this one. And if I was going to give it a star rating, I've got to give it a 4.5, mainly because it's a super high-end beginner drone. It has this gimbal on the front, which I really like. I don't have any other quads that have those on that have a one-axis gimbal on it yet, so that is really cool. I thought it was a little large, but it does protect the gimbal in here quite well with some of the crashes that I had. And I had several crashes with it, not even a scratch on that gimbal. So I thought the plastic might break, but it's super thick. The construction is very good. You have those breakaway arms, and you're likely not to break anything on this copter. If you do, Rclogger also has parts that you can swap out. You can put a new arm on here if you really need to, but I'm gonna say that this is one of the best beginner trainers that I've seen come out this year for sure. I don't get paid for this demo or this review. I don't get commission on this copter, so this is 100% honesty coming from me for the new guys. If you're looking for something that flies fast and low, doesn't have a ton of punch out, it's not going to have you up in the clouds with the bump of the throttle, this one is really nice for low level FPV flying. You can also fly it up high with the altitude hold. It's kind of nice just to cruise with. So I've got to say, I mean, I'm pretty impressed with this package that Rclogger put together. At first I was a little turned off from it, but I am a more expert pilot, and I like to fly fast and furious. So I had to really slow down with this one and appreciate what it is and who it's really made for. So it's a beginner copter, 100%. If you're looking for something just super chill, or you can go wild with it if you want. So tons of room to grow. Guys over at Rclogger, you did a great job. So thanks a lot for letting us demo this one. I had a ton of fun with it, and I'm going to continue to take this one to the field with me for cruising around and just, you know, some Sunday flying, some enjoyment out of this one. So thanks again for watching, guys. I had a lot of fun on this one. I really like this one. I'll see you on the next one.